Podcast, bussin'.
Welcome to this.podcast, the dopest podcast experience in Denver. I'm your friendly host, Jay, joined by my brother and friends. We got Mike.
You ready? You ready to boogie with that bear?
We got Cole.
Man, what we talking about?
And we got Uncle Damo.
Hi, my name is Uncle Damo.
You can find us at linktree/this.podcast, and we'll meet you where you're at. Video on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, you name it. We'll meet you there. Shout out to the incredible Lawrence and Lammer for providing the space. You can catch them at 3225 East Colfax Avenue.
On the facts.
Or you can go on lawrenceandlammer.com and use the promo code THIS, and you'll get some kind of percentage off, right, Co? Something?
Maybe
3 for 1.
Is it
3
75?
for 1?
Is it 75?
3 for
75% last time I checked.
100%.
3 for 1.
3 for 1. It's something, but you will get a nice discount. Let's get right into it. Today we got a special guest. This guest is an opportunity coach that provides men opportunities for growth and techniques to stop self-sabotaging behaviors. She has a podcast, Show Up with Sarah, and just released a book, Get Out of Your Own Way.
Fellas.
Available on Amazon. Welcome to the show, Sarah Hips.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for stopping through.
No, thank you. It's still very, very cool to hear like all of that put together. You know, because like 6 months ago, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start a podcast. I'm gonna write a book.
Yeah.
And then like, I guess I'm gonna do it. And then I just kept being like, one day, people are going to announce me as like Sarah Hips, opportunity coach, author of, host of, and I'm gonna be like, yeah. And then like to hear it, I'm just like, oh, that's like super cool. Like, yeah, you know, like.
No,
so.
absolutely.
Deserve it.
You can live it. Come on. Oh, how do I stop this? There we go. No, I'll hit the air horns.
Oh.
That's kind of loud.
Don't use that air horn again.
That's pretty loud. I got to work on the volume, but you're absolutely right. You've accomplished a lot. I know it feels good to say those things, right?
Yeah.
And you worked hard and deserve that.
Thank you.
You know?
You know, it's funny because I wrote the book,
Mm-hmm.
and it's some of the fastest writing I've done. It's not a big book. I love it. I think it's a good, well-written book. But I didn't struggle over it for like a whole year or anything. So I was kind of like, holy crap, it's like flowing and I love it. And then going through the process of getting it formatted, getting a cover, getting it edited, that was really exciting for me.
Yeah.
And then when I like got the book for the first time, I was like,
What did
well,
that
okay,
feel like?
then. Like, no, I mean, I was like a little emotional because I was like, I've always wanted to. So when I was in college, I wanted to be a journalist or a English major, specifically because I was like, I'm gonna graduate, I'm gonna write books. And my counselor was like, yeah, you can't, like, that's not like a thing. Like, you don't just be like, I'm gonna write.
I'm gonna write a
books.
book.
You know, like, and I was like, yeah, no, it is. Like, that's what you do. And she's like, yeah, no, it's not. So I changed my major because I was like, yeah, I guess that's not what I thought it was. But I've been writing ever since I was like a wee little pint. So I love it. I've always been like, I'm gonna write books. So to be published and like have my own book and like look at it and be like, frickin', like these are my words. Like I thought them and then typed them and
Absolutely.
you know, like. But then it literally was like 5 minutes where I was like, oh, I did it. And then I literally was like, oh, well, okay. Then I put it on my bookshelf and I was like,
On to the next.
Yeah.
On to the next.
So I already have like a draft that I'm actually going to delete and start all over again for a book called God Just FYI. And then I already have plans for another book that's more geared towards women, just discussing like, because I've been single for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't think that people discuss being single for a long time. And
What's a long time?
short of a 5-day relationship 2 years ago. Like, and I say
5
that.
days.
No,
That don't
no,
count.
I know.
Sir.
Listen here.
I
She
I've
was
had
full of passion.
no. I have
Sir,
had.
that was the best 5 days of his life.
Right.
Listen, I have had 3 boyfriends, and I count that one as a half because we were dating, and then he asked me to be his girlfriend on Christmas, after I like even met his family and stuff, and then on New Year's Eve he broke up with me.
You were like his Christmas
Year's
gift.
Eve.
So it was a quick turnaround. But I always like to count it as half because I'm 36 and I've had 3 boyfriends, you know. So but short of you've only had 2 girlfriends. Good for you. Good for you.
I'm just saying, like, I'm professionally single.
Oh, I was gonna say, are you single
That's
right
your
now?
job.
Yes, that's my job.
Okay. And
Yes.
the 2 girlfriends that you had, how long were you with them?
About 2.5 years for each.
How old are you?
So I have 5 years of relationship total. I'm
Okay.
38.
Okay.
How old did you
think you was?
Okay.
I
hang around
he
y'all,
was-
so I'm
yeah,
like
he,
mid-40s.
yeah, he was like for the 40s guys, you know, like. But now I mean, like,
Yeah, they love me.
yeah, I mean, we should discuss that at some point.
Oh.
But,
Can I be co-author?
no, not my book. Why you are professionally single?
Like, no, not my stuff. We can talk about you.
Yes, no, like
You ain't getting no professional credit from this, brother.
I'm very aggressively trying to stop
Hey,
myself.
just real quick. I'm sorry
His vo-
to kill the
Courtney's-
vibe.
Courtney's voice
His
does
mic is messed up.
a little.
It's like crackling.
grainy.
Yeah.
It's a little grainy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway,
We back. The 5-day relationship. Hit us with
Yeah.
it.
and then go
Yes.
into the 3. Yeah.
Yes, and then so yes, I've had the 3 boyfriends. So to answer the question, I've been single sans 5 days for approximately 12 years, which I know is insane,
Yeah.
but it's okay though. Yes.
So wait, at the most 5 days you've been single?
No,
I'm sorry.
saying
Okay, I
except for
misheard
the
that.
5 days a couple years ago.
I got
It
you.
was
My bad.
it was 12 years total
Got it.
of
But Sarah, that should be the book, 5-Day Relationship.
no.
That sounds appealing.
don't-
I would buy that
I
book.
would buy that book.
You would buy that book, and then
Well,
and then,
I bought the Get Out of Your Own Way.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and I'm reading it. It's good stuff.
Is
It
it?
really is. It is good stuff.
Good. That makes me really happy.
No,
Thank
it
you.
is.
You-
I'll ask you some
You'll
questions
probably
later on.
finish it before my mother does because that's how excellent.
Do you have
my
an
family
audiobook?
is. No. So my mom literally she's like, I got your book, and I was like, yay! And my mom goes, you know what though? The black ink on the white pages
Hurts my eye.
And she goes, can you make it an audio book? And I was like, Ma, like the book just came out.
Right.
And she was like, when can you do that? And I was like, I don't know, Ma. And she's like, okay, well, I'll try to get through it. And I was
Got
like,
it.
okay.
Got
Yeah,
it.
So, okay, yes, no,
So about the
yes.
book, I would like, before we like dive into the meat of the book, or we could take this wherever, like take us through that process and journey, because you were like, you finished the book and it was like relief, or you felt celebratory, but then it was like on to the next thing. So was it more the journey that you enjoyed, or just finishing the book?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the journey of it. Just kind of just, I had already written it, so then the making of my baby was really cool, and just to be a part of that process with it. I 100%, like, a big goal of mine is to be published by like a publishing house. So I'm gonna like work my magic to see if I can get like tiny reparations to like pick up a book one day.
So was this more like indie?
My book, yeah, I self-published, yeah.
Nice.
Because I was just like, I want to get it done, and I have a habit of being like, things aren't working the way I thought they would, so then therefore, and I've just kind of got myself out of that of like, no, like if I want it done, like let's get it done, and a self-published book is still a published book. So
Absolutely.
So yeah, like, and it's really cool because I don't celebrate myself as much as like my friends and my circle do. So I'm really fortunate because I have like some friends who for like the first like 3 weeks, every time I'd be like, hey, what's up? And they're like, what's up is that you wrote a book.
Yeah.
Like, are you
Right,
kidding me?
right.
And I'm like, thank you.
Sarah,
Yeah.
It is.
Quick question. So how important is that to have people around you that support your vision?
It's insanely important. So I remember like when I first moved to Denver, I didn't know anybody here. And it was hard because when I first moved here, I had found a meeting, and so I'm super open about the fact that I'm a recovering sex addict, right? So I had found a meeting. It was a co-ed meeting, which was not something I was used to, because in DC I had a women's only meeting, which was really like safe and nurturing and really cool. And then I didn't know anybody here, and when I got to a meeting, it was co-ed, and there was one other woman there. It was my one of my good friends, Anne. And we became friends, but then unfortunately, like, there was someone at the meeting who, like, pretty much just like chose me as prey, right? And so I ended up relapsing, but not having people around me that knew me, believed in me, knew me as someone who had the capability of doing things or being more than I was. Whenever I'd be like, I'm just really struggling with this, people were like, oh, I've known you for like 6 months, and it just seems like this is about right, I guess, you know, like, now I'm really, really, really blessed that I have a core group of friends who, if I could call them right now and be like, man, I'm struggling. And they'll be like, what do you need? Do you need money? Do you need me to come over? Like, food? What's going on? You know, like, and they believed in me, but 100% before I believed in myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
It is. And then, you know, one of the things you said you're open about is, I'm sorry.
Can you hear it go?
Go ahead.
Test.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So one of the things you said that you're pretty open about is being a recovering sex addict. And what would you tell somebody who's in that position now, that you've been able to see the other side of?
Yeah. So I actually just did a series about unhealthy sexual relationships on my Instagram, because every time that I do like have kind of mention it in a post or anything, I always have it. I mean, it goes like pretty much the exact same way every single time. I'll get a guy that comes to my DMs and like, hey, I just saw that post where you said you're a sex addict. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I don't have a problem. I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, I mean, I don't even know what you would dictate a problem. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you feel like it's out of your control and, you know, whatever. And I'll just like say some like keywords for like addiction, right?
Sure.
Right.
And then they'll be like, yeah, I mean, like, do I like wake up and need to look at porn? Yeah. But like, does that mean I have a problem though? And I'm like, yeah, it could, you know, like, and so that's one reason, like, so I'm a really big believer, and I'm definitely going to answer your question, but I'm a big believer that, so I used to think with my depression and my addiction and just like not doing well in relationships, like everything was just like against me. And I'm like, God, why? And then I was like, you know, like God doesn't really do that. God's not just like, you know what? I love everybody but you, so good luck on this, you know, like, and so I just decided, I was like, if I believe that God loves me and he is having me go through crappy stuff, maybe it's not about me. And maybe like it's not my story. And so if it's not my story, I can't hold it hostage. I have to like tell people about it, right? So that's why I'm so open about everything. And the thing with sex addiction is that it's so varied. When it's drugs, when it's alcohol, it's literally just don't do drugs, don't drink, right? For people who are in sex addiction, it can be porn, it can be cheating, it can be having sex with strangers, it can be voyeurism, like it's just so many different things. And it really does feel like you just have lost control.
You're just helpless.
You know, like, and I always joke with people, because people like, oh, so like, does that mean that like you're just having sex everywhere? And I'm like, yeah,
no,
yeah, just on a car in the street, like, you know. And I'm like, no, like that's not what it was.
Anywhere I can find it.
I always joke, like my friends are like,
I was going to ask.
Yeah, no, I
was really going to ask, like, what is the definition?
Yeah,
of being
so
a sex addict?
The definition is when your relationship with sex, however it manifests, it becomes out of your control and you feel helpless to stop it, and it's becoming increasingly either dangerous, unhealthy, or it's actually hindering your life. So the same type of things with like alcoholism, like the questions will be like, do you feel like when you don't want to participate in something, do you feel helpless to say no? Has it had escalating behaviors?
Got him.
Is it dangerous? Like, because, so for obviously like sex addiction, it's, if I'm having sex with people and I don't know their status, I don't know anything about them, and I'm not using condoms, like that's a dangerous behavior.
Right.
And so for me, I had suffered, and sorry, I'm shaky just because I'm a little cold, but I suffered 2 sexual assaults as my first encounters with sex. And so I think like the dynamic that happened in my brain was like, okay, this is what you do and this is who you are, right? And so whenever I would be interested in a guy, instead of allowing him the opportunity to get to know me, I would start diverting towards sexual conversation, interactions, because in my mind, if we're having sex and then you're like, you know, hey, I think you're like so dope, but I'm looking for something more. Like, you didn't end anything with me. Like, we're not like that. Like, we decided that we want 2 different things. So like, that's cool. And so the common thing with all addiction is that you are insecure or you're lacking something. And so you're trying to control something, right? So even if you are an alcoholic, you're still trying to exhibit control in a way over how you feel about stuff, how people perceive you, how you show up, right? For me, I was trying to control the amount of intimacy that men had, because my deepest fear was that a guy would get to know me and then be like, yeah, there's like nothing here. So, and then like, if you break up with me, then like, you're just telling me like, I'm just not good enough, you know?
Right.
And then I just started getting to a point where like, I would really like a guy and I would just be talking and I would be making innuendos and jokes, and I'd be like referencing things. I'm like, Sarah, like, stop it. Like, you want this guy to like you. And of course, like, guys don't take you seriously when all you do is you talk about sex and you revert to sex and whatever. And so I had gone to a meeting when I was in DC because my therapist was like, this could be an issue for you. And I was like, no, it's not. And like, the first meeting was a co-ed meeting, and it was just like it was me and 3 other women. And it was just like a bunch of guys, and they're telling their stories, and they're like, yeah, I didn't want to, but then I like went downtown, and I like, my wife and my kids were asleep, and I just was driving around, and then, you know, I'm sucking off a dude, and I want to be like, you may just be gay. Like, that may actually just be the problem.
You know, it's extreme.
Yeah, no, like, it's like.
Wait, so you was in a therapy session where there was guys?
No. My therapist told me to go to a meeting.
Okay.
So
the meeting was not good.
No, the meeting was co-ed.
Yes.
So it wasn't bad or good. It was just co-ed.
And
like,
there's other dudes in there that was sex addicts.
That's what co-ed tends to mean.
No. I'm trying to follow this.
Yeah,
like,
no, I would. So it's
Yes.
called Sex Addicts Anonymous. I apologize.
Yeah.
So like, I was at a meeting.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a sex addict. Like it was like this.
Got it.
Okay, and the guys were saying that they were.
Yeah, like guys, like they're
well.
just like talk about stuff, and like half of it was like stuff where I'm like, I mean, you just may need an open relationship. You may just be gay. Like, I just didn't really resonate with any of it. And so at the end of the meeting, the women there, they're like, you should come to the women's only meeting tomorrow. And I'm like,
And that's what resonated?
I went there, and pretty much everybody had their first encounters with sex was through assault. A lot of them were put in positions where they were, I don't want to say forced, but it was really kind of like fed to them that their worth was their body.
Got it.
And yeah, like, and so like, and there was one woman specifically, like, you know, I tend to recount this story whenever I'm like talking one-on-one with people, but you know, I have no problem. Like, the story that resonated with me was there was this woman who said that she had cheated on her husband, you know, of course. And so they were divorced. She had a 7 or 8 year old son. And he was dropped off because it was her weekend or whatever. And he ended up like, he had like a tummy ache. So he went to bed early, and she was like, yeah, I was just like, oh, man, I'm bored. So she's like, you know, I got on Craigslist, and I was just like looking through, and I found someone, and he came over, and like, he tied me up, and like, for kind of going at it, and he like kind of chokes me. And she goes, next thing I knew, I woke up tied to the bed naked. My son was waking me up, and this guy had choked me out till I passed out and then stole everything.
Oh, wow.
And so she lost custody of her kid. obviously. And like that resonated with me because I was at the point where I was not full escalation, but I was just at that tipping point.
Yeah.
And so like I used to like go onto Craigslist and like look at those like type of ads, not because I was like, I would never do this, but I'm like, it's just interesting to read. And I started finding myself like opening some in different tabs, just being like, I just like want to read them. Right. And then like there was a moment where I was like, I'm kind of curious, you know, like, and that's the type of escalation that like seeing her, I'm like, oh, that's me if I don't like make any changes, you know?
Yeah. So in your opinion, does is sex assault a precursor to sex addiction?
No, I just think that I don't want to say it is. I just think that a lot of people do suffer, have that background.
Okay.
And so like for me personally, I know that the first assault that I had, I felt I internalized it a lot because like I was my senior year, like in the summer, before I went to college, and some of my friends were like, just have a beer, it's not big of a deal. And I was like a super like goody two shoes in high school, so I like never went to parties, never drank beer, and I was like, yeah, okay, like I'm about to leave for college for preseason, okay,
this is what we do.
Yeah, you know. And then yeah, I was assaulted, and the crazy thing is that guy doesn't think he did anything, because like I went to the room with him, right? And no joke, he just tried to friend me on Facebook last week. Wow. And I was like, like, you know, Jeez. but because of that situation, I did what a lot of people do. I don't want to say women, but people do, where you're like, I had something to drink and I don't quite remember it exactly, you know, like, and
you're
so
like making excuses.
Yeah. So I was like, that one's my fault, I guess. Even though like it was my virginity. And I think that in our society, the way that we talk about sex, high schoolers having sex and the first time and the antics of kids,
absolutely,
we sometimes really forget the impact that when you have sex too early or the wrong way or whatever, it does change you.
Yeah.
And then and so for me, it very much like it was like a light switch where I was like, okay, no, I just didn't know this thing, and now I do know this thing, and so this is my role in the world, right? And so
so real quick, because I think, you know, with that, like sex addiction is probably a different thing, and you've been to these meetings and things like that, right? Different from like Alcohol Anonymous, right? Because there's people preying on those that have that kind of addiction, whereas like it might happen with other addictions, but that one is just, it just seems like it's a setup, or it's easier, you know, to do that.
When it's co-ed.
Absolutely. When it's,
so there are a lot of rules for co-ed meetings. Like you're not supposed to, you're not even supposed to shake anybody's hand without asking.
Got it.
So like we would get done and I'd be like, hey, that was a really good share. Is it okay if I shake your hand?
Gotcha.
And then if you're like, no, I go, okay. You know, like complete respect. One of the the meeting that I had gone to, one of the rules that they implemented after I left was that the call sheet, because we have a call sheet for like, if you're like, man, I am struggling, right? You can call someone on the call sheet and they can kind of just be like a phone, like temporary type of sponsor. And they actually, after I left, they separated it so that you could not, like a man could not have access to the female call sheet. But it used to just be like like everybody on, right? But yeah, I mean, like I will say, like when I moved here and I ended up relapsing, it felt so out of control. And I know it's so hard for people to grasp it, because people are like, so you were just having sex with one guy, like what's the problem? But I'm like, I was dealing with a guy who was so manipulative and narcissistic, and his thing is that he wants to manipulate people who have that like a nurturing ability and like want to fit into that space, right? And so we were like two peas in a pod, like just perfect puzzle fit. But it was just the level of like I cannot stop myself. I know I'm going to call this person. I know I'm going to do harm to myself. Like, why can't I do anything different? And I mean, it was, I think like rock bottom can be when you actually acknowledge, you're like, I I'm so pained, I'm so depressed, I'm so lost, and I'm going to do it again.
And
Like, you know, and that's when you're just like, crap, I know I said that out loud, you know, like.
No, and Sarah, I think that's really important to share, and we appreciate it, and have a ton of empathy for you, like especially for sharing your story.
Absolutely.
That's really important. And one of the things that I think about is like from having conversations from you, you've used that like energy to propel yourself to like bigger and better things.
Yeah.
And how like your relationship and how you deal with people and men specifically as a coach, and would love to dive into that.
Yeah.
And so talk about what you do as an opportunity coach and explain to people like what that is and why it's important.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just say I help people discover opportunities for growth. I just don't like the term life coach for me because that feels like it's putting too much pressure on myself for some reason to be like, I'm going to fix your whole life. Like, let's do it. Right. I have a belief that everything that you want to know about yourself, that you want to figure out about yourself, it's already in there. The thing that happens is that we have experiences, traumas, roadblocks that are put up, and it gives us a blind spot to the answer that we are looking for. And so the example I always give, and I always do this with my clients, I go, I'm always going to talk about myself and use myself as an example because I know me and I can't offend me. But like when my dad moved out when I was 13, when I was 14 was the first time I started having like depressive feelings or thoughts. And I said like, hey Dad, like sometimes when I'm in the shower, I think about using the razor on my wrist. And my dad goes, Sarah, don't you think we're all depressed? And I was like, nah, I mean, you're right. Like, it's a stressful time, you know, like, and that's and so when I go through things with my clients, I go, okay, like, when's the first time you remember feeling abandoned or pushed aside or whatever? I mean, I don't know. Like, this memory comes up, but I was like 15 when that happened. It's like, okay. But like that's the first thing you thought of. So like we're going to go to that one, right? I'm sure in my life there was a time before the age of 14 where I was like, man, I feel unimportant. But I don't remember it. 14 is the first time, right? And so like I can look at my romantic relationships, my relationship with friends, family, all that stuff, and see that I have a pattern of like I easily feel like I'm forgotten. But when I like, you know, if we're friends and you text or I text you and I don't hear from you, like I'm legit, I will be like, well, he's either dead or he decided that he hates me and I'm never going to like hear from him again.
Right,
you know, like I go like so
anymore.
And so like when I started becoming more like aware of myself and working on myself, like, Sarah, what the heck is that? Like,
how do you put that away though? How do you put that away in terms of not having those feelings?
It's not that you put it away. You just explore it. The problem is that we as a culture, society, people, whatever, our approach is to put it away. To be like, man, that's silly. Like, Sarah, you really think he just died? Like just today, that just happened? Or like you did nothing, but you think that he does not want to talk to you ever again. You're never going to see this man. Really? Like, and so we shame ourselves into being like, that's stupid. You shouldn't think that way, right? The idea is just to like dive into it. Okay, this is a real thought and a real feeling. You really think that this person doesn't want to talk to you anymore. Is there any tangible fact or thing that leads to that possibly being true?
So I think a lot of what you're talking about is the book, Get Out of Your Own Way, right?
Yeah.
And some of those things are, you talk about self-confidence and self-love and forgiving yourself. Like you just went through this whole process. I'm reading. I'm reading. So it's like, that's so dope. Like, how did you come to that conclusion of like these things in order to get rid of self-sabotage?
I think it's just, so I've done therapy, I've done meetings, I've done work on my own, and just looking at all of it together. And then also like I would never talk about something that I'm in the midst, like if I'm like, I still have a hard time not yelling at random people, like then I don't have any business talking, you know, like
Shut
but
the fuck up.
yeah, you know, like
Keep my wife's name
Oh,
out your
God.
fucking mouth.
like, and so
Man,
like
what we talking about?
so I think that like my deep belief is that if we are hyper self-aware, we can show up as our best selves like 99% of the time, and we can technically have everything that we want. We just are in the way. So like if you finally text me back and I'm like, what the heck, it's been 48 hours, blah, 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 and you're like, dude, like my phone, like I dropped my phone, like, but I'm just like, I don't even want to hear, and I'm just letting you have it. The fact is that I'm just reacting to you out of the fear I carry that I will always be forgotten. I no matter what, you know? And so when I started asking, I'm like, Sarah, what is this about? What's going on? And I'm like, well, when people don't text me back or if they don't call me, I feel disrespected. I'm like, okay, is there anything else? And then it's like, well, like they obviously forgot about me. I'm like, okay, we have nothing to base that on. So like, let's figure that out, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're coaching these men and they're going on dates and they're texting women and they don't respond, what advice would you give them?
So I always tell them first, you have to decide what is bothering you. If you've gone on one date and it seemed like it was going well and then she just never got back to you and you are like alert level 8, it's not her, it's you are potentially overreacting to something. So what about this situation just hurt you? Because guys will always be like, I'm not hurt, it's just like, it's rude. Okay, yeah, I mean, it is rude, right. But like someone who cut me off in traffic, that's rude. And I'm just like, frickin' okay. And then I go about my life, right? And so it's always, I go, if you have an issue, if something comes up, you always turn it back to you. Why is this bothering me so much? The answer could be, she legitimately made me feel like she was into me. And I was excited. And I hate getting excited and then being let down. Maybe it's
rejection.
Yeah, because the fact is that all of our every time that we react, and I talk about reaction a lot. Every time that we react, it's from a type of fear, and fears are perfectly okay. Like I will always have a fear that I could be forgotten because it was rooted into me at a young age. It just is what it is. The idea is that because I'm aware of it, when I want to react from it, I go, no, we don't have to do that because X, Y, and Z.
Well, then that plays perfect to where I'm at in the book because it's letting go. Because I forget the math equation you put together, and I won't try to recite it. But
goodness, I won't try to either.
Take us to that process of how you would tell a man to kind of just let that go. Just let it go.
Yeah. So the first thing is how much of you needs to communicate to this person that they hurt you. Mm-hmm. If you can communicate, and if they don't reciprocate the way you want or don't communicate back at all, will you be okay? If you won't, then you may need to keep yourself from reaching out, right? If you are like, I need to reach out, what is the reason? You know, like if you're like, well, I want her to know she hurt me. I want her
closure.
Because here's the thing, like, and that's when I go, okay, what if she doesn't care? What if, like, because the thing with a lot of closure that we really struggle to understand is that it's usually kind of controlling and manipulative. And so, dude.
Yeah,
no, you go.
Okay.
Weezy, just come this way.
Weezy, you can come through the cameras, man.
Weezy.
You're okay.
Yeah.
You can go this way.
You come right through.
You can walk through.
You're good.
Yeah. So what were you saying?
No, and so like a lot of times, and I actually just talked about this on my latest series, which was like, that's a you problem and it's none of my business. Letting go of when people, when
when you don't get that
you
closure.
need to let go of someone who keeps doing that. The idea is that you can't show up in a way of like, I just need you to know that I'm not talking to you anymore, or like I'm just like letting you know that you hurt me because you did this. Do you have anything to say about it? Because what we are really trying to do is we're trying to like poke the person to be like, you know what?
You poking.
I'm so sorry. You're right. I'm going to make a change. But the fact is that like how we react from things and how we feel about things, that's our problem. It's no one else's. And so we can't try to get people to change for us so that we feel comforted. So yeah, like if someone's like, I need to call her. I need to text her and let her know. Okay. If she doesn't communicate back, are you going to be okay? If
she still doesn't respond to you.
Yeah. If she goes, oh, sorry, is that going to be enough for you? Because if it's not, then reaching out to her isn't the answer. You just want her to change her answer.
And then that's what leads in to the soft space.
Yeah. So that's when.
So what is the soft space? Give a little bit.
What is the soft space?
Just give 30-second context.
Yeah. So soft space is where accountability, nurturing, and allowance meet. Yep. And so the idea is that if I'm your friend, your coach, your partner, whatever, I am allowing you to emote, express, show up however it is that you need when you need to. I can't be like, wow, like I love it when you're emotional and you start crying. I go, that's a lot. You know, like I can't do that, right? If you're like, I need to yell. Okay, let's do it. What do you need? Do you need to cry for 20 minutes and I'll go start dinner? What do you need, right? And so I'm allowing you to show up however you need. And then the idea is that then I can nurture you. Hey, like, let's talk about it. Let's go through it. Let's whatever. And then accountability comes in where I go, okay, so what next? Because the problem is that I've gotten flacked for saying it, but I think that we either demand too much from men without giving them the information, or we overly infantilize them. And the idea is,
what's that mean?
What's that mean?
Break that down.
Treating men like boys.
Like boys.
Like pretty much. I mean, because we have the phrase boys would be boys. Like, what was it? I remember it became like more prevalent to talk about it when like Ryan Lochte, he was like 27 or something, like in Brazil, and he like trashed the gas station, and people were like, everybody's making such a big deal of it. Boys will be boys, and people are like, he is a grown man. Like,
that's
a
swimmer,
grown man.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like 2016.
Yeah. And like,
locked his ass up.
well, and
They
so like people, we do that where like I used to get DMs on Instagram all the time of dick pics, and I'd be like, man, boys. But then I'm like, no,
What goes through your mind when you get dick?
No.
no, I will tell you straight up, no one wants a dick pic. If a woman asks for a dick pic, it's because she wants something in case her photo goes somewhere else, or she just wants to laugh. But I will tell you
So
straight
it's
up,
literally
Not like sauce. Like,
because I will tell
She
you,
got an insurance.
like, I don't.
So it's
It's
insurance
insurance
policy.
policy.
Insurance policy.
Like I will tell you 100%. I have never and actually I was not even joking. I was talking to a friend of mine about this last night. I was like, I've never received a dick pic, even from a guy who's that penis I've seen in real life, where I'm like, oh yeah, baby, look at those veins. I don't want to see it. Like, I don't want to see it. You know, like, but like
Nice.
men send it, and I just am like, I don't know what you think the reaction is gonna be, but every single time I'm just
hilarious.
like, this guy, like, and the best is, this is off topic, but the best has been, there was a guy who every time he sent a dick pic, he held something with it. From like a Coke can to a remote control to like a shampoo bottle, and I would be like, I mean, I saw it, like I didn't forget the size of it, but also like, what are you doing? Like you're just like, oh, I gotta,
To scale.
and I'm just like, just be normal, but also don't send it. Don't do that. Mostly, but yeah, no.
He's got a dick pic in like a tennis racket or something like that.
You know,
That's hilarious.
but yeah, so like me
or a
and my friends-
microphone with the weight on it.
There you go.
So no, women don't want dick pics.
So real quick, getting back to the what did you call it?
Infantilized.
Infantilizing, and you were talking about Reference from the book again, like the dichotomy. So putting men into the safe space.
That's a hell of a weight you have there, James.
They're talking about me. I missed it.
I like that you guys were able to crack yourselves up.
I missed
No,
it.
you missed, like look at this contraption.
Yeah. It looked like Jay, huh? There you go. This looks like Jay.
That's a good comparison for your picture, brother.
I got a lot to live up to, man. So, talking about the dichotomy of the contrast between what men have to deal with, right? Because you say on one hand, boys will be boys, and then as they grow older, it's like, I forget the phrase that you use, but
so it's we do this all the time where boys will be boys until they're like 25 or something,
right.
And then
it's like accountability.
And then
grow up.
Yeah, at one change, guys will be like, "Yeah, I don't know how to do that," and I'm like, I'm sorry. I was taught how to do this when I was 13. Yeah. So you need to figure it out. Yeah. And then, and then you have guys who are like, yeah, I mean, okay, can you teach me? And then as women, and I try to keep as much of my bias out of things, but I'm always honest when I do have bias. And I will tell people straight up, I'm like, I have a hard time when I am talking about something and someone's like, can you teach me this? And I'm just like, it's, like, I don't have the energy. Like, you should know this because I just feel like it's common sense. But it's like, I always have to remind myself that if I can relate something to race, and it makes sense in that space, then I have to have grace for it in other spaces.
Got it.
Right. So like, I can't expect a white person from like Wichita, Kansas, to be like, I understand everything that you're talking about with race, and I'm just like,
there's a lot of black people in Wichita.
Okay, then Wyoming. I don't know where there are any. North Dakota, like.
Is there a lot?
Hey, there's a hood in Wichita. You better believe that.
And so like I think that we're in a space now where, it's tough because to say it always sounds like I'm taking one side or another, but we are very much in a space now where a lot of women have a lot of frustration because they have had to carry a lot or teach a lot or whatever. And then we're in 2022 and you have a guy that's like, I want to be more emotive. Can you teach me? And I'm like, boo-boo, I've known this for 20 years. Like, right. How do you not know it? And
my penis is longer than this remote.
so like, I think that like one of the things.
We're literally that caveman, aren't we?
Are you that caveman?
Yeah, we literally that primal.
He's saying
yes and no.
Okay.
Like this is like a provocative statement, but like the friends I was talking to last night, I was like, men are funny because I equate it to you have red, blue, green, the different main colors, and then you have all the plethora of colors in between. And women, when we are struggling with something, we'll like take that like as a filling, like swatch, and we'll be like, And I mean, we just like try to compare it to figure out like, what is it of these thousands of fillings, right? Men will be like, it's not red and it's not blue. I don't know what it is. And you're just like, oh, well, I mean, there's so many in between though, like, and they're like, I don't know. And I was like, it's almost adorable if then when some men didn't get frustrated and angry, they didn't have to go like be violent and like rape people. Like, I was like, men are almost so cute. Except for when then they become violent. And I was like, it sucks because I've had conversations with men who I've discussed like different like parts of being a woman where I'll be like, I have fear walking around at different times. Yeah, like this is a reality. Do you know how many times I have had men DM me, you are one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And I go, okay, I'm not interested. You're a cunt anyway.
Oh, wow. Guys are
okay.
Men are extremely unpredictable.
Yeah, and so the idea is like, if that person approached me in real life, would he turn on me that fast? What would happen, right?
He would.
Yeah, and so like, and when I've explained that to some men have been like, I don't believe that, and I'm like, I thought this was just like known, like, so I like with guys, it's tough because before I started working with men, I 100% had to be like, I cannot work with a man if I'm having any type of bias against men. if I'm not able to see and hear and show up and have absolute grace for a man. Because it's the equivalent of like if a white person was like, I want to talk to you about this. And I'm like, dude, I don't have the capacity for it. Like I would want to have that honest conversation, but I don't have the privilege as a black woman or as a black person. I just don't think we have the privilege yet to be like, I'm not showing up for this stuff.
That's
you
deep.
Figure it out, you know?
So are women literally afraid of how men are going to react based off their opinion of that specific man?
Yeah, like, so it's not like every day I'm walking around being like, oh,
yeah, no, you know, every day.
But yeah, like I've had a guy, I was downtown walking by myself in the evening, and I had a guy run down and go, I just saw you across the street. And I was like, wow, she's gorgeous. Can I have your number? And I was like, I don't know you. And he goes, you're not going to give me your number?
Oh, wow.
And so of course I'm like, let me give you something, you know, like, and then, but the crappy thing is that guys like that, you'll be like 303-811-9111. And they'll be like, oh, hold on.
I'm going to call you.
Yeah.
I'm going to text you right now.
So you have to give him your number because then like, what happens if that happens? And he's like, you give me a fake number? You know, like.
So
and where could that go?
Women, so honestly, this is an honest question. When women go out and you guys are out alone, or we guys are out with your friends going to the club, do you guys have anxiety in terms of guys approaching you?
Yeah, like I if I'm out with friends, I'm never not around my friends. But also like it's very common. I'm on Reddit a lot, and the women, like the female Reddits, they will talk about almost on a weekly basis, like a time where they're like, yeah, this guy was harassing me, and some woman was like, there you are, oh my goodness, and then the guy walks away and she's like, you good? You know, like, and like that's the type of stuff that like I look out for. Yeah. And what's frustrating, and this is like completely off topic now, but what's frustrating is whenever women talk about this stuff and then we're like, it is common. And then guys are like, I don't know any man that would be like that. And I'm like, you got to know one. Because like it's impossible that it's so common for women, but then every guy I meet doesn't know any guy that would ever do that. What are the chances, man? Like that must be a very small minority that is very, very loud and also everywhere somehow.
Yeah,
you know,
not
like
being truthful.
And so the idea is that like for women, it's the same thing with like race and stuff. Like if men start calling out their boys whenever a guy like makes an inappropriate joke, even if there are no women around, if a guy's like, yeah, you know, like I would take that no matter what, don't say that, you know, like that's not cool, right? You know, like, and then the same thing, like if you're out, if there are guys who are being inappropriate, like I have seen guys watch men be inappropriate and not do anything, and then a woman has to come in and do it. And it's like, it's much more dangerous for me as a woman to intercede on another woman's behalf than if like you just rolled up. And the crappy thing is that people forget we still live in a time where a guy will harass me until I say my boyfriend, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I'm so glad that you respect my imaginary boyfriend. Thank you. But so men should give women grace when a woman just like, I just don't feel like being bothered right now. Yeah.
Even if it's a situation where you're really just trying to be nice.
Yes, because and I get it. Like I've heard about that type of stuff. I have never done it personally because like I'm like a little too considerate. I'm like, oh, if he comes up and he asks me out, I should really be like, you did good, you know, because I know it's like I've like asked a guy out and I'm just like, you know, and so like I really try to have grace for it. But like I know some women who will just be like no, and guys are like, man, I was just trying to like hand you your marker or whatever, right? But the idea is that you're trying to stop something before it can potentially be anything, so that they don't even feel that they have the space. Because the really unfortunate thing is that I have heard some of the worst stuff from men who are like, I'm a nice guy. And like being a nice guy inherently makes you deserving of like my vagina or my respect or whatever, even though like if you have to call yourself a nice guy,
it doesn't.
You're not a nice guy, you know?
I saw a guy say on a clip on Instagram one time, he said, Is a difference between being a good man and a nice guy. A nice guy would tell you anything to make you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
A good man is going to protect you, going to meet your needs, and when he comes home, he's going to come home to his children. He's going to lay down, and his children's going to jump on top of him and love him.
Sauce trying to bring us home.
Yeah. Like, so, and like to get to, back on track. Yeah. Like when I first started working with men, like the very first male client I had, he was like, dude, it's just like really hard being a guy. And I had like the internal why we're like, is it really hard to be a guy? You know, but then I was like, yeah, I can't do that. Like, because it like for me to demean or belittle his experiences just because I've had experiences, like that's not okay. You know, and so I 100% like stepped back, did work on myself to be like, if I hear a guy complain or vent or talk about stuff and I have a reaction, what is that? Is it just that I'm like, well, you don't know me and you don't know what I've done, so then therefore your stuff isn't valid? Can two things be valid at once? Yes.
Yeah.
Can you guys have struggled, and can I have struggled, and are both of them as traumatic? Yes. Can people have situations in their lives that are not as traumatic as someone else thinks their thing is, but it's still traumatic to them? Yes. Like, you know, and like I think that's like one of the things, like for a lot of women, when we deal with like assault or something, we think, well, it's not like I was like violently assaulted in a back alley, so
it's like degrees.
And it's
you
like,
try to put degrees on it or something like that.
But
levels.
the fact is that like it took me that stuff happened to me when I was 17, and it wasn't until literally 3 years ago that I processed my assaults.
Right.
You know, like it just, and it's because, and it's what I do with my clients. The first chapter is digging the dirt, because the way I communicate this stuff is that we have things that are rooted into us. So if you were raised in a really beautiful, loving home, affection and security and love, encouragement, all those things were rooted into you with space so that they can really grow, right?
Yeah.
When you are raised in a home that isn't that great, love can be rooted right next to violence.
Yeah.
My dad says that he loves me and he loves my mom, but then I saw him hit my mom, but then he said he loves us, and like, yeah, you know? And so then when you have a secure, safe relationship, you're like you feel anxious because you're like, no, this isn't what, no.
This ain't what it's like.
Yeah, because you're waiting
this isn't
for
what
something.
I know.
It feels uncomfortable because it's safe. Like, and it's so crazy because I tell people all the time, I'm like, you have to understand that you're like, whatever happened at an age was a survival mechanism, survival tactic that you should be so thankful for, because it got you through that time.
Right.
Even if, like, I have a client who he was beaten and he would make jokes knowing that his dad would beat him harder, right?
Right.
That was just how he functioned.
That's how he coped.
Yeah, because the other thing we forget is that, like, kids will be told on a Monday night that their parents are getting divorced, and then Tuesday morning they have to go to school. Like, you know, so we ask kids to show up in adult capacities all the time. So when you are young and you create some type of survival mechanism so that you can survive and function, that's a beautiful thing technically. The problem that comes up is when we keep it into a time where we should be thriving, because all it does is it hurt us.
So what if a man, so men do this often, right? Men will shut down just completely emotionally.
Yeah.
What if that is their survival tactic?
What I tell them is that I actually ask them to think about, or I give them a homework assignment. I want you to ask your parents, a parent, sibling, whatever, or if you remember, who were you before the world got to you?
Right.
Because you didn't come out the womb being like, yeah, I gotta pee, I'm a baby, change it, right? Like, you had emotions, you laughed, you played, you had imagination, and then something happened.
Right.
You know? And so, and however, I mean, I literally had a client that was his thing, because he had suffered abuse by a cousin when he was between the ages of 5 and 8. And then he never told anybody. And then he finally told his mom. And he said, Mom, this is what happened. And his mom goes, okay. She went, called the ex-husband, and was like, he's not going to spend summers there anymore. And then she was like, I took care of it. And then she just went on. And so for him, like, it was like, oh, like, so we don't talk about stuff. Got it. We don't process it. We don't emote. This is how we do things. So then when I was working with him and he's like, yeah, I mean, I feel like I already see it in my son. His son was 17. He's like, I already see it in my son where like something good will happen. He'll be like, yeah, it's cool. And he's like, I did that. Like I passed that down. Right. So I'm like, okay, who were you before the age of 8?
Wow.
Who, like, did you have imagination? Did you laugh? Yeah. Are there any pictures of you where you were smiling? Because like, if you look at him as an adult, every single picture, he's with his family in like Hawaii. He's like, you know, like, and he's absolutely. Like, oh yeah. I'm like, so you've smiled before. Yeah. So then when did you stop? Why? Like, and I would literally just be like, we're not going to get off this call until you smile 4 times. Wow. Like, you know, like, and it's just getting him to practice. And what I like to say there, that the survival tactic is a part of us. And we have to not only, the problem is that we always shame it, right? I shouldn't do that. And I'm a big proponent. The minute you say should, that's a self-shaming statement. I shouldn't eat that ice cream. That's you being like, you did wrong, right? Get rid of that, right? So when we show up unhealthily, we react, we shut down, whatever. The idea is that there's a part of us that's like, we have gotten you here, and this is what works. And the reason why you're coming to me is because you're like, does it? Right?
I need to try something different.
Yeah. And so you can't just be like, I shouldn't feel this way, and you have to go. You have to legitimately say, thank you. Yeah. Like, thank you. Mm-hmm. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for 14-year-old Sarah figuring out that she just has to kind of step back and let people have their space, I wouldn't be alive. Now I have to be like, I thank you. I'm so thankful for what you did. I'm so thankful that at a young age you figured that crap out. I just have to take it from here. So I'm going to do some other stuff. And then you have to do kind of this slow buy-in where my client is over there and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, this is weird. I'm like, tell that voice that's like, this is weird. Just be like, I don't know, let's just try it. Just once. You know, and like you slowly get that buy-in from the part of you that's like resisting growth. And it's so, yeah. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, you did. So, I mean, I even go through that as I get older, especially when I'm dating, So, I mean, like the
2 women you date.
The 2 women I've been in relationship. Yeah. Like I said, we're going to co-author that book. Anyway, so like I had to force myself to sit in like on uncomfortable situations. Mm-hmm. Like, so versus 10 years ago, yeah, I'm not dealing with this. I'll see you later, or, call me later when you're no longer emotional.
Yeah.
So it's like, now it's just like, all right, I have to sit in this, even though we're out in public, she's emotional. I have to process this. I don't care what's going on around me. I have to focus on and deal with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and I even would challenge you to change your wording from deal with to like, okay. well, which is perfectly reasonable. Like I try to recognize not everybody talks the way I do. Cause I say this crap on a day-to-day. Like my dog will be doing something. I'm like, dude, how do you need me to show up for you right now? Cause you were testing me, like, but there's a change there where, if you, and this is where like being self-aware comes in. If you're like, okay, I'm someone who's process oriented and she is not, right? And she's just out here like, I had a bad day. And you're like, so like the pasta's on its way. Like what's going on, right? You can just legitimately be like, in a time where it's not emotional, where it's not distracting, whatever. Hey, I want to let you know that I'm working on these things. Sometimes I shut down. I'm working on that. Here are signs when I'm about to shut down so that you can show up for me. However, I'm working on it so I can show up for you and myself in this relationship. So when you come to me with certain things, I may go into a process space. How can we work on this together? How can we do this together? Because you don't know. Like, and this is the other thing, I don't know like why I went to tell you, but maybe this affects you. You don't, a lot of people do this where we have conversations and make decisions for someone without including them in the conversation.
Oh.
You know, like
all the time.
Yeah.
I see that.
Like, so, I mean, I went on a date.
Our own narratives.
Yeah. I went on a date in January where like, we talked about all of our stuff. I shared, oh yeah, I'm recovering sex addict, blah, blah, blah. And then after the second date, like we're leaving, I expected he was going to give me a kiss. He gives me a nice hug and he's like, is it okay if I call you? Yeah. And then he texts me a couple days later. I just want to let you know that I'm very attracted to you, but I know that with your recovery, I want to be respectful. I'm like, next time, why don't you include me in the conversation?
Oh, but that's tricky.
You know? Like
that's tricky though. That's tricky though, Sarah, because you told him that you're a recovering sex addict, and he's trying to respect your space.
But he doesn't know what my space is yet, though.
Oh,
that's tough.
Like, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. We also don't give people the opportunity to show up. Like, and so here's the thing. Let's say we go on a date, and I tell you that some of this stuff about me, right? And you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I want to be respectful, blah, blah, blah. If you're like, hey, I want to be respectful. I'm not presuming we're going to kiss,
right?
You know, like this, that, whatever.
Right.
I just want to make sure I'm showing up well here. And if I go, oh, how dare you, right? I did not show up for what you were trying to provide. So you probably wouldn't want to date me anyway, because at some point you would keep trying to be honest, transparent, show up, and I would keep being like, I can't, right? But like wait,
can I stop you there? Because I think to Cole's point, some guys might get scared of that moment, right? Like they don't want to ruffle the feathers, so it's like, I won't even go that far to say, hey, you know, I'm opening up, blah, 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 A, B, and you're like C, and you're like, no, like
and
whatever that is, and you're like, God, I might have messed that up.
No, we can take it to like a more elementary example. If I'm like, man, I really want to go on this trip, but I don't think my friend Jen is going to want to go with me. Man, you know what? I'm just going to scrap it. Like, I made a decision for her without including her. And so then what if I went to her and she was like, you're really going to ask me when you know I've been stressed out and I don't have money? I'm just like, okay, dang, okay. But she may show up in a way that surprises me where she's like, hey, I thank you for thinking about that. I would love to. I just don't have the capacity to do it right now, right?
So is that like the rejection type factor that people fear?
Yeah.
Or men fear?
Like, yes. And the thing is that we don't really talk about it as much. Like, I think men have, and this is a theory I've created that has no basis in anything, but I think that women are a little more groomed to accept that things are going to hurt more than men do, because we are taught when we're young that like the boy on the playground that like punches us, he just likes us, right? And that and the fact is like every single part of being a woman that brings like the most joyous things, birth, sex, that crap hurts, right? Like love kind of coincides with pain a little bit.
Absolutely.
I think that men, and not like blanket, but I think it's more prevalent that when a man, especially if he has a good relationship with his mom, it's like, man, that's my mama, right? And then I think the first time that a guy falls in love with a woman, he's just like,
gotta be like my mom.
Yeah, you know, like I think like men fall into it because it's like women are supposed to be safe and nurturing and receive it. And I think that men who are cheated on, especially by their first love, or their first marriage, especially, I should say marriage, because I think that when a man gets married, it's not more serious for women, but I think that there's like this idea that like this is freaking it, right? And I think that a lot of women, we do like, I mean, I watched Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Like I come from a divorced family. Like I have a fear. Like, what if that happens to me? What if no matter what I do, my husband leaves me, right? You know, but I think that when men are like, I'm getting married because like, freaking this is the woman, this is it. And then if a woman's like, so I cheated on you, I think that men are just like, I will never love again. You know, like I think that men have a harder reaction to it. And so I don't even know why I got into that. It was a point that I was making.
Well, what is your definition of love? Yours personally. How do you know? No, but so how do you know that you're in love with someone? You personally, like, what is the characteristic that person needs to display? What do you need to feel to say, you know what?
What did he do?
It's a two-part question.
Yeah.
Have you been in love, and how did you know you was in love?
I believe I've been in love.
Okay.
But I would also say that my definition of love when I've been in love was not healthy because I didn't know myself and I didn't show up well, healthily in those relationships. Now, right now at 36, healthy, self-aware, love for me would be like, actually, you know what? I actually wrote a list of ways I believe like my future partner is going to show up for me, physically, emotionally, mentally, all that type of stuff.
Manifesting it.
I am manifesting it. I love donuts. I love donuts. Don't get me started, even though no one said it. I said it. But, you know, like, and so, and like, one thing that when I look at my past relationships, there's not been one guy that would randomly be like, hey, are you home? I got you some donuts. That's never happened in my life. You know, like, and that's so basic and that's so simple, but it's like what that means is I want a partner who, if they see something, if they think about me, they're like, I just want to make her happy. I'm just going to surprise. It's not a big deal, right? Because that comes innately where I want to make her happy. I'm an entrepreneur, and in the past when I have dated men or dealt with guys and I'm doing so much work and they're like, let's go to dinner. I have so much. And they're like, oh, come on, you can take a couple hours. And I'm like, no, of course. Because I used to be someone who I would always put someone else in front of me, right? I believe that God has a man for me that hey, let's go to dinner. I'm going to be like, hey, I just have so much work. And he's going to be like, okay, how about this? Because you're in a flow. I want to support it.
I got you a donut. That's what he's gonna say.
Hopefully he would be like, I'm gonna go get you a full dinner with a donut, right? But like I want a partner who's gonna be like I want someone who's gonna be like, I'm gonna bring you dinner, I'm gonna walk the dogs, you just keep working. You know, like and that's the type of stuff that
Are we that in sync though?
We can be. We can be, because the fact is that if a man really was about me, he's like, man, I gotta keep that one, right? And I'm like, I love donuts. I also love to eat. And I also like sometimes don't want to take my dogs for a walk. If I say that and then at no point in your life are you like, I should get her a donut or I should walk the dogs for her, you know, like that's crazy. But that also would mean that I shouldn't be with that person, because that's the type of stuff I would just 100% like, boo boo, you keep working. I'm going to make you some dinner. I love it when you are moving on your goals, you know. But then
when you trust him to walk the dogs, not feeling that he's just trying to game you to get something else going.
I mean, at that point,
dude, she's already there.
Yeah,
she's already past that.
We're honestly at this point
she's already past that.
Honestly, to where it feels like we're at this point to where everybody feels like
she just ain't letting anybody.
No, this is like in a relationship. Like if we've gone on 3 dates, I don't trust you to walk my dogs because you're gonna lose one of them. You know, like the 130-pound dog is gonna pull you somewhere, surprisingly. You know, like, but no, if we're in a relationship, but the thing though is that
don't get a man that the 130-pound dog's gonna pull him somewhere.
Well, no, it's if it's a surprise.
I couldn't hear you.
And
I'm sorry, I could hear him.
No, but no, like, and
please get you a man that can handle the 130
no,
pounds.
I plan to. You know, but no, like the thing is that like we
aggressively choke chain. I got this.
She does have a choke chain.
Do they still make choke chains?
Yeah, my Great Dane's on a choke chain. Oh.
You got a Great Dane?
Yeah.
Ooh, what color?
She's fawn. She's a very light fawn. Nice. Yeah, she. I only put her on the choke chain once in a while because she gets, when it's just me and her walking, she's actually really chill. But when my other dog is with it, she's so protective of Joe that like if like another dog is walking past, she's just like, and I'm just like, it's like a 5-pound teacup, dude. Like, calm down. But like she'll like I mean, it's so funny because she will want to protect Joe so hard, and Joe's like 8 going on like 80. She has like she has a bad back leg.
Got it.
She stumbles quickly enough, and like in protecting Joe, she will literally like hip check her and like fly her out the way and just. I'm just like, Joe's like in the street, man. Like you,
like
could, like
you
you're
hurt Joe.
yeah, like,
yeah, the whole purpose of you trying to defend you, the one that's hurting him.
But I would be remiss. I'm aware that we've gone on time, but I really. Genuinely do want to know why have you only had 2 girlfriends? Like I said, like,
let's get into it.
And I will preface it with like literally every time I'm somewhere, like I went to a wedding and with a friend that knows what I do, and we were sitting at the table, and someone was like, "Yeah, I'm recently divorced," and I was like, and my friend's like, "You don't have to ask anything," and I was like, and like I just kept being like, and he was like, "How are you doing with that?" And I was like,
just dodging.
Yeah, I want to be. I always want to ask people, and I always have to remind myself, like, I don't need to ask everybody their business, but like, legitimately. So
Let's
they were
dive
only
into
like
it,
2.5 years. You said
Both of them, yeah.
when was the last one?
Ended right before COVID.
Okay, so 3 years ago, 2019.
It ended.
Wait, do you say right before COVID?
Yeah. So 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did that? Who broke that one up?
She ended up moving.
Okay.
She wasn't gonna stay in Denver anyway.
Okay.
She eventually was gonna leave the state, and I was like, yeah, I can't go with you. And then like literally 2 weeks later, all this stuff happened.
So for like 2 years, 2.5 years, you
something
dated
like
someone who you knew was going to move.
I didn't know she was going to move until let's say February, and then 2 weeks later, COVID happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how old was she?
She's 37.
Now.
36. Yeah. Well,
At the time.
now she is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so.
I'm on the couch, fellas.
So for 2.5 years, you date this person.
Samuels
Did you
treatment.
exchange I love yous?
Keisha Samuels.
No.
What? You were with somebody for 2.5 years and you didn't love them? Like, why would you waste your time?
That's what I'm saying.
There we go.
Here's the question.
I didn't know. Listen. You've been hurt before in the prior relationship.
I don't know why I didn't ask that question.
You were gonna ask it
No,
anyway.
you don't know what I was gonna ask.
Okay.
It's her whole conversation before of answering for other people before they answer for themselves.
That's very true.
Here's my question. Do you want to get married one day?
Yes.
Okay, so you do want to get married, but then at what point did you realize that you were not going to love her?
Like we were going extremely slow.
Oh wow.
Okay.
I didn't think.
Get him.
So here's the thing.
Get him.
Get him.
Yeah.
Get
him.
Get him.
So look, I didn't know she was going to end up moving
Yes.
until she did. Like pretty much. Like she was like, "Hey, my lease is up the end of March. Whatever, gotta go." And yeah, she ended up leaving the state. So like,
that seems like a relatively shallow response.
listen,
Well-
she did meet the family one time. Am I
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So I saw potential. We were moving real slow.
Why were you moving so slow?
we just were?
Did
It
you want to?
It was a comfortable space for
Was it
both of
both
us.
physically and emotionally, or just emotionally?
We were light years. With warp speed physically.
Don't listen.
Emotionally, yes.
Emotionally.
Yeah, because like I said,
Beat me
it
up,
took for
Scotty.
that to realize like how it took for that relationship to realize how closed off I was with my emotions. I feel like I'm better now
Okay.
because of that.
How often are you dating now?
Now this
Cereal, Captain Crunch.
Just repetitive, just constant dates.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I don't know.
Cheerios. serial dater.
Serial. Yeah.
He's right. Serial dater.
Reese's
Do you
Pieces.
sleep with all of them?
No.
You.
He doesn't have that much pull.
The heat is on.
Do you sleep with
Let's see if I can play that. Who played? Who sings that song? Yeah.
I'm over. I'm yeah. So if this were baseball, or basketball, I'm over 50% from the field.
Do you have
That's
any,
not an accomplishment.
Do you have any boundaries?
I'm a 50-40 now.
Do you have any
You have any
boundaries
boundaries?
with when you engage physically with a woman?
No.
I am not talking to you,
Thank you.
but we can
No,
if we want.
I
Do you
don't.
need something to talk about?
Yeah.
We've had
He
this
needs it.
discussion
He needs
before. We've had
Hey,
this
you don't want that
discussion,
seat, Sarah.
and
You don't want that
he's trying to play this slow ball with you. And let me think about
well,
it.
here's the thing.
We know the
I said
answer.
no.
It would go faster if I didn't have commentary. Thank you.
Sarah,
No-
Thank
no
you.
boundaries?
Yes.
between us.
Yes.
What was your question again?
Do you have boundaries for yourself for when you engage physically with a woman?
Yes.
What are they?
No, I'm gonna say no.
Oh,
Okay.
so
Oh.
Uncle Damo strikes
Okay.
again.
Uncle Damo.
So
Is that thing
would,
exclusive?
Would it be reasonable to suggest that if you do want marriage in your life and you are just working on being more emotionally available, that you potentially should allow yourself to feel an emotion with
Lock
a
it up.
partner? No. Feel an emotional with a partner before you engage with her physically so that you can ensure that you have an emotional stake increasing or being rooted instead of potentially confusing the physical.
Do you see this guy?
Have you more
Do you
depth?
see him?
So in
Okay.
translation.
With my eyes?
No.
Yeah.
This guy is like a CrossFit specimen. And when women see this dude coming in here with a suit and a hoodie
he
on,
leans in.
Uh-huh.
He
they
leans
don't
in.
want to talk about emotions.
Okay, but
they
that's
want
why
the snacks.
that's why we don't
The
set
snacks.
boundaries for other people.
And he
We
doesn't.
set
But he
boundaries
doesn't.
For
He
ourselves.
just told you he doesn't set boundaries.
Yes, this is why.
guess
This is why I
what?
asked him the question.
Sarah, he wants to be a snack.
He wants to be a
Here's the
snack.
thing. Here's the thing.
Absolutely.
Here's the
Absolutely.
thing.
Hey, no,
full-
I'm sorry,
he wants to be
Sarah.
a full
I'm
bag.
gonna leave it right here. No,
no.
I'm gonna close it out. He's a perpetual dater that has no boundaries.
So
that
You-
eats cinnamon toast crunch every
That
morning.
is hilarious.
And only
A
bats
perpetual
50%.
dater.
That shit's funny.
here's what I here's what
Can I
I'm
can I
done.
merge
Yeah,
the two?
here,
I'm
wait,
asking.
One,
That is
no,
hilarious.
one quick thing.
Okay.
I do want to say that while I enjoy the humorous commentary,
Yeah.
I am an expensive coach.
Ooh.
Ooh,
So
talk
the
to
fact that we're doing a tiny mini session, you need to shut up
Talk to her.
so that he can.
Can I merge those two?
I
So-
apologize, Sarah.
Thank you.
Because I'm a very private person.
Uh-huh.
Like, so I mean, if sometimes if I go do things, I'll probably end up doing them by myself, or or something family related.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think I'm trying to work on now is merging stuff. Like, hey, would you like to do this, which is private for me? Would you like to do this with me?
In my bed.
Okay, that still doesn't take place with that doesn't include the physical aspect that I was talking about though.
Can I ask
Oh,
you a
okay.
question about that though? Because you in your book, I keep referring to the book because
Yeah,
I've been
please.
studying. You say you should lean into that,
Lean into the
lean
physical
into
or the emotions.
I guess a little bit of both, but like
Yeah, can both things
the
be true?
self-love and the things that you enjoy, like you shouldn't, if that's truly what you want, like you should
Yeah.
lean into those things and accept those things and not let society kind of dictate to you, like you got to be in a marriage and,
Yeah.
you know, those kind
Yes.
of things.
The,
Talk about that.
The difference here is that I want to be married. I engage physically with men who don't deserve me as a partner. I cannot be in salt water and then expect pure water to just flow into me,
You
right?
can't drink that.
So it's not about society. It's if I want something real, but the only energy that I'm allowing in my space is counter to that, then I can't bring the real energy in.
So are you bringing that into your space, like that counter of like what you want and what you're seeking?
I've been bringing in the opposite.
Yes.
Oh,
which
got it.
I mean, like, yes, that's clear. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Because the
mean to
fact
hit
is,
that.
and that's why I was saying, like, you should have a boundary for yourself, because the truth is that it's great to have fun. It's great to smash. If you look like a CrossFit specimen with the suit and the hoodie, that's beautiful for you. But if you are like, I legitimately want to be married one day, then there should never be a time where you are having sex with someone that you are not having an emotional connection with, because the only thing that matters is that you are allowing your space or allowing yourself to connect with someone emotionally and know that you have the possibility to do it with that person. So if you can't connect with someone, or you don't feel safe enough to connect with someone emotionally, there should not be anything else that goes on, because if you continue this for the next 2 years, it's still not going to be the thing that you want.
But I still need
Talk
cheeks
to
though.
him.
No,
Yeah,
you
see, that's
technically
what-
don't.
Stop. See.
But here's the
Talk to
thing.
him.
If you truly want, or if you're like, I need to have sex, okay, that's fine. But then
Get
you
at it.
better get on your crap and do your work. You know, I'm very slow. I'm very private. Okay, then that means that you are not going to have sex as soon as you want.
So Sarah,
But
Sarah,
what's more important, having sex right now or having an amazing, incredible partner for the rest of your life? I love that you just learned that. Good for you.
I told you I'm growing over here.
But like, so the analogy I was going to make is, let's say I'm like, okay, I'm a fitness professional. And then every time that we hang out, I'm like, I'm just going to have a cheeseburger. I'm just going to have some ice cream. It's just an ice cream cone. It's just, right?
because I could work it off.
I do that all the time.
But here's the thing, though.
Cheat meals.
If I keep saying, you know, but I'm a fitness professional, you're gonna be like, man, this chick. Like, sure, you may, like, if I look okay, you're gonna be like, yeah, I mean, she works out. But if I'm like, no, like, this is my life,
Oh,
but
got it.
but I just want some candy, you're not gonna take that seriously. And the fact is that we so underestimate what our heart, our soul, and our head are in tune with. What you say, what you do, you are telling yourself who you are all of the time. So if I'm like, I'm a fitness professional, I just want some ice cream. I just like, what I'm saying to the world and to myself is like, I'm not that serious though. So all I'm going to have is I'm always going to kind of be around McDonald's, and I'm always going to be around people who kind of take things seriously, because I want to live in that space. Now, if you put me in a room with people who are like, no, we don't do ice cream, we don't do McDonald's, we don't do this, I have to up level, right? Or I get dropped off. It's the same thing though. If I'm like, I want a relationship, but then we go on a date, and then, oh, hey, what's up, Sarah? It's just a text. I mean, you know, I'm just having fun, whatever. You're gonna be like, you obviously don't want the thing that you say you want. And all that's gonna happen is I'm going to keep finding men who want to just have fun, because I will always also be around friends who kind of are just like, yeah, girl, get it, as opposed to friends who are gonna be like, dude, I thought you said you wanted a boyfriend. Like, I thought you said you know. And so, like, that's what I'm saying to him. Like, it's great that he has the ability to, like, hook up and whatever. But at some point, he has to decide, what is the standard by which I want to live to have the things I want?
They're all enablers.
Cool. Yeah, and so
They're all enablers.
Yeah, so
No,
don't
not at all.
throw me in that bucket. So in the spirit of the people in that room that lift you up, we always ask this question at the end of the pod. Considering your experience today, and we appreciate it. Thank you for dropping your dimes today.
Oh, thank you.
Who would you want to have on the show?
Who should our next guest be?
Oh,
From your circle.
From your
Somebody
circle.
you recommend.
Man, that's hard, actually, because all of my circle changed a lot, and
That's a good thing.
no, it is. It's just also like
So who?
women that you guys would just like steamroll over. You know, like they'd be like,
You're welcome
you know?
here.
No,
we don't steamroll.
I just
Yeah.
mean like, you know, like
Don't judge us.
Yeah.
Don't you dare judge us like that.
Yeah, you know what? You know who actually is super dope, but she's actually moving? My friend Christina. She has dealt with domestic violence. She is an attorney. She's an animal attorney, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, which is super cool. She's so smart.
She's
She
like
has her own podcast.
So
if you
Less detective.
you don't have to answer now.
Yeah.
But when we post this, tag people that you think
No, I absolutely.
that you would love to have on the show.
Yeah. And if I can just say one more thing before we end.
Go.
Absolutely.
I want to encourage all men to just start asking themselves why. So like, why is the provocative answer? It doesn't get you an answer, or the provocative question. It doesn't get you an answer. It just provokes thought, right? And then just every single time you react to something, every single time you encounter something that you don't quite know the answer, how does this feel? When's the first time I felt this stuff? What is happening right now that is invoking some things? Ask all the questions and get away from this idea that you absolutely have to be the rock in the relationship or you have to show up in certain ways, and find not only especially male groups that allow you to show up emotionally and how you are. Ask how you are. Really ask what's going on with that relationship and going on with work and how your stress is. But then also allow yourself to challenge your partners, whether female or male, to show up in that capacity. Because as much as men need to be allowed and taught that you can cry, you can have emotions, women also have been brainwashed to think that masculinity and manhood looks and feels a certain way. And so you cannot be a good partner to a man who is evolving and growing if you are going to perpetuate an ideal or idea that is not where they need to go. And if you are afraid to bring that to your female partner or male partner, I don't judge, and they don't show up for you, you are very much allowed to rethink that relationship.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That was great.
Thank you.
Dang, way to close it out. I don't even want to say anything after that.
I just want to make sure. Just want to make sure.
So, are you watching the pod?
Yes. This one? Yes.
Yes. This one? This,
yeah.
this that one?
Sure. Like this one?
Yeah. So, I do have the book. I wanted to show that I have the book, and you need to go get it. Get Out of Your Own Way by Sarah Hips. And we want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And you never stumble upon the unexpected if you only stick to the familiar. So don't call yourself a fitness trainer if you're out there doing cheat meals all the time.
And eating donuts.
Listen here. I'm not a fitness professional anymore, so, you know.